Welcome to the podcast, Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson.
Hey, this is Dr. Steven Judson. Welcome to the Wake Up Humans podcast. How does the body know how to heal itself? You know, when we look at all the granolas and the self-healers and the natural healing people who sometimes get stigmatized by society because they may appear a little freaky. A lot of times they're appearing freaky because as humans we learn this thing called fear, and we don't want to die young. So we're told any symptom in our body could be becoming something greatly bigger that could kill you overnight. And we lose faith in ourselves. And a lot of that comes from the way we look at the world, the way we look at our present existence, and the stories that we've created in our own consciousness that help us create our thought. But if we stop and think for a minute and think how amazing the body is and how the human body is created, you know, I make love to my wife for 4 hours, and 9 months later, we have a human being. I know what you're thinking, but I wish. But we do have a human being in 9 months. When the sperm and the egg meet, we all know that you've got trillions of sperm cells racing towards the egg, and only one wins it. So it's kind of cool to think about. You're the one that won it. You won the greatest race of your life. I was born in 1968. So by winning that race, I implanted 1968 as my biggest number of when it all began for me. And I'm glad, because I may not win every race on foot now. I'm a big dude, and man, I won the race that mattered freaking most in my world, because it created my life. I thank my mom for being a good catcher. But in 9 months, that sperm and the egg met, and the very first thing it developed was what's known as your brain stem. And if you put your finger up right under your ear and push your thumb, you'll feel a hard space, and that's called your atlas. That's where your brain stem sits, and your brain stem connects your spinal cord to your brain. That's the very first thing designed when you cross that finish line in your mother's womb. And from there comes branches of nerves. It's like a subway system coming all the way off to create your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder, your eyes. It's what made your eyes blue or brown. Your hair, your eyebrows, 10 fingers, 10 toes. How come we don't have 14? How come we don't have 3 kidneys? How come we don't have 2 livers? How did the body know how to build this thing? I can't even build a sandcastle without the thing falling apart. You ever try to build a sandcastle, especially with 5 young kids? The thing just crumbles. It's ridiculous. You just make a mountain. Everything turns into a volcano when we do sandcastles. But the body knows how to create the greatest design ever made in the world that we cannot duplicate fully with our modern day science. That intelligence is still within you, which is really cool. If you get a viral infection, a lot of times you don't even know it. Your body just kills it before it becomes something. Cells in your body may be turning to cancer. You don't even know it. Your body just kills it. You get food poisoning. Your body just knows how to handle it. It gets rid of the junk because it doesn't want to build new cells with junk. And I ask, why are we raised that any symptom we get we should be fearful of? You know, if you go out to dinner and you go home and 2 hours later you wake up and you're hot and sweaty and you want to throw up, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Your body's trying to get rid of what we call food poisoning, or the toxins that your body brought in. Your temperature goes up to kill off the bad stuff, probably a bacteria, and you throw up to get the junk out of your system, or maybe you get some diarrhea to push it out faster. It's a survival value. It's a system your body's put together to get rid of the junk. But if I wake up and I take a bunch of pills and drink stuff to try to suppress the symptoms and shut down my body's natural expression, and I don't run the fever, I don't throw up, I don't get the diarrhea, is that good or bad? In my world, I think it's bad, because we're cutting down the body's natural expression of life and its ability to adapt. I have patients ask me all the time, they get scared. They say, my child had 100-degree fever, 101-degree fever, and they start giving the kid Tylenol and all kinds of stuff. 100 and 101-degree fever, in my opinion, is not a bad thing. The body's doing what it needs to do. But what's bad is giving the body a drug, that shuts down the natural defense of killing what was there. And 2, what if there is something major going on, and that fever was going up to 104, 105, well, now you should be in a doctor's office, a walk-in clinic, or the hospital. You can't read the signs fast enough, and now that thing is lying dormant, producing itself to a part where it's taken over your child's body. What if we let the body innately rest, get adjusted to clear out the kid's nerve system so it's functioning at a higher level? And maybe that fever goes to 102, 103, and it kills naturally what was taking place, and the kid's defense mechanisms internally are stronger, so the next time it gets hit with something, the battle guard is there to do what it needs to do. It's a whole different principle for new people to actually trust this body's wisdom that's been there since the day you were conceived. To trust this thing that is making your heart beat 60, 70 beats a minute, 80 beats a minute, so it could pump blood through every tissue cell in your body on its own. Through the brain and spinal cord, these nerve impulses are telling the heart what to do, the kidneys what to do. If that system is functioning 70, 80%, how are the tissue organs going to be performing? If it's functioning 100%, how are the tissues and organs in your body going to be functioning? These are questions we have to ask ourselves. You know, you go ahead and you Google the brainstem, the medulla oblongata, the pons. What do these things do for your body? And if you understand what they do and how they function, you'll be amazed on how much simpler life could be if this system is functioning at a high level, if it's clear, if it's not interfered with. You could have the brand new iPhone 8 or X or whatever's out there, and if you're driving and you're down in the valley and you need to call 911, but if you're not connected or if you don't have power in that phone, what good is that technology if it cannot perform to do what it was designed to do? The same thing goes with your body. It is intelligent. It is masterful in creating life and adapting to no matter what is put in front of it. And if it has more resources to work with, it is going to do what it's designed to do. And on the cover of our book, Wake Up Humans, there's the slogan, "How's your atlas?" ? How's your atlas? I want every household in my country and around the world to have that sentence in question roll off their lips. How's your atlas? The function of the atlas is to ring, and between it, in the middle of it, pumps the brainstem. That thing that was developed from a sperm and an egg that gave you life, created every function of your body, is protected by a little ring that we call the atlas. Your head sits on top of it, which is why it's called atlas. It moves three-dimensionally. It does not lock, so it's got free space that it moves in. Your cerebral spinal fluid pumps through it to nourish your brain. And if that space is clear and it's free flow, no blockage, life is better. Communication's better. Our body's doing what it's designed to do. But then the obvious question is, if that atlas is not where it's supposed to be, and it's creating a blockage of flow, nerve flow, cerebral spinal fluid flow, life flow, what is happening to your body? If the brainstem is responsible for every glandular function in your body and the intelligence of communication that is making you adapt and function and tick on a chemical, physical, emotional level, if that system is not connected properly and it's not cleared, what is the expression of life in that organism, in that matter, in that life? So when we say, how's your atlas, what we're asking is that atlas clear? In our office, we use infrared scans, and it gives us a graphical reading, and it lets us know whether there's a disturbance taking place or not. And in chiropractic, in the research in over 120 years, we call this a subluxation. And what they found in the research, that within the brainstem in this upper cervical area is this thing called mental impulse. It's like the greatest intelligence within the nerve system that makes the entire nerve system function. And the only place it's found is in the brainstem. And the only place it could be affected is where the atlas is. So my vision is someday you'll be in the grocery store and the checkout clerk is just not looking good. She's having a bad day. Maybe she's sad. She looks pale. And you say, honey, how you doing? Not good. It's not a good day. You look at her and say, how's your atlas? And by the grace of God in your neighborhood, there's an upper cervical chiropractor, a specific chiropractor, a chiropractor full of passion, a chiropractor that understands this principle of detecting and correcting subluxation, of knowing if it's subluxated or not, and could put their hands on you gently and make the correction, and knows when and where to go back in if it needs to be corrected again. That's my dream. I've seen it in our office here in Connecticut. Hundreds of thousands of patients have life restored in their body where they told they couldn't, where they told they'd be living on drugs their entire life. And we go in and make corrections, and it's amazing. I'll tell you stories over the next year of things that we've seen change in people's lives that I am not smart enough to do. But I'm a master at one thing, loving people enough to know when and when not to adjust them gently, to remove the pressure from the brainstem so the body has the ability to adapt and restore itself again. And whether it's a newborn child who's having seizures or a 90-year-old individual who's constipated. It's amazing what happens when this flow is put back into play, when that connection is put back into play. It's like the cell phone call to 911. When you're connected, you're saving lives. But when you're disconnected, people die. And I'm not going to stand around and watch people die, which is why we need to share this principle. Repeat after me, how's your atlas? How's your atlas? If you were to put your thumb behind your right ear and palpate and feel that area, has anyone checked that for you? Have you had x-rays of it? Have you been scanned? Have you had a postural analysis? Have you learned this principle? When you walk into a chiropractor's office and they do one thing, detect and correct subluxation. Nothing else. But that's their number one thing they're a master at, and that's what their focus is for your family. I have 5 kids in my family. My kids haven't needed drugs, haven't needed antibiotics, haven't needed stuff. My older daughter just got her first swollen tonsil, and you would have thought it was the end of the world because kids at school were diagnosing her with all kinds of things. So we checked and corrected her daily, and within a couple days, she's back to being the brat self that she is. And all the fear that was running through her head because of what everyone around her was saying is gone, because her body had the ability to restore itself. Now, yes, well, what if it got worse? What if? I'm no dummy. If it needs medical intervention, we are the best in the world for that. But you know what? We didn't need it. We corrected her atlas. She got checked daily, and her body restored and healed itself on its own. And the blessing of that in my world is every time the body's able to do that and build natural antibodies and build, it's like putting more Marines in that body. Like my kids have Navy SEALs running around the inside of their body, defending them against the outside-in stuff that are laying people up in bed for weeks, making them walk around doped up and groggy and unable to focus for weeks. And I'm dropping in these Navy SEALs and these Rangers and these people into their cells naturally that are defending them. We want them connected. We want them living clear. And when more moms and dads could understand the principle, how amazing the body is, and how it's intellectually put together at such a higher level that we don't even know most of what it does. You've heard it before. We use 10% of our brain. Most probably use less. But imagine if we lived clear, how much more we'd be able to achieve. If our kids grew up on less drugs, if any, how much more they'll be able to achieve. And the terminology we use is living clear. When we say, how's your atlas ? Is your atlas where it's supposed to be, and there's no nerve interference on the brainstem. And that brainstem is pumping and flowing and doing what it needs to do so that every cell, tissue, organ in your body is maximizing its percent efficient energy life flow. How's your atlas? This is a principle that helps the body restore itself innately. It transforms lives. It unlocks your own potential. You shouldn't, I believe, have to go through life having a doctor or someone tell you what to do day in and day out. I believe, and I've seen with hundreds of thousands of patients, that when they start living clear and innately they start waking up within and their body's able to express itself to its fullest potential, they stretch more, they exercise more, they eat better, they sleep better, they make love better, they smile more, they're happier, they listen to better music, and they're happy human beings expressing themselves to their fullest potential. When we live through love and connection and through clarity, we want to live the best possible life we can, and we want the same for our children. We're less apt to damage ourselves, to have stinking thinking that slows down our progress, because life is flowing from above down, inside out, 100% of the time. And man, what a blessing that is to live in that world. I could introduce you to dozens of my families that I have that I'm close to that have been living this principle since their kids are 5-10 minutes old. And their expression of life, I will tell you, is just better. There's a lot of times I'll get a child on my table for the first time, 10, 11, 12 years old, and they're rigid. Their body is just not where it should be. The blessing is they rebound faster than the 50-year-old who comes in. But when you take a child from birth and you keep this system connected and you see them when they're 10 years old, man, it's a different expression of life. It's a different human being. And we've been blessed with having children now who we've taken care of since the day they're born, and now they're going off to college. And the best thing they ask me is, Dr. Steve, can you find me a chiropractor who can check my spine regularly? To me, that's one of the greatest gifts because they understand what it means to have that atlas clear. I don't need to tell them how many sit-ups a day to do or to go paleo or keto and all that kind of stuff. They could Google that. But when they're connected innately, They just know it makes sense to eat properly, to exercise regularly, to move the body, just have fun in life. Because being sick sucks. Being tired, depressed, anxious is not how we were designed. And when there's principles followed, you wake up to your purpose, you find your passion in life, and life is just better. Love and appreciate you. Have a rocking day.
You've been listening to Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson. To get Steve's books, Wake Up Humans and Atlas Adjusted, just visit Amazon. The Wake Up Humans podcast is a copyright of Steve Judson. Be sure to look up other episodes. Wake Up Humans will educate, inspire, and bring you clarity. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Humans with Steve Judson. Visit JudsonChiropractic.com.